This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Have you heard of Olivia, the travel company for lesbians and LGBTQ+ women? You know what they say. Life is short and the world is wide. And when you're a lesbian or LGBTQ+ woman, you want to be able to go on vacation, have some fun, and be yourself. Olivia Travel creates full takeovers of their cruise, resort, riverboat, and adventure vacations, so you can relax and be completely yourself. Olivia also provides the entertainment, bringing comedians and musicians from within our community. Traveling by yourself? No problem. Olivia has a robust solos program so you can travel independently, together. Single, coupled, or in a group, you'll meet amazing LGBTQ+ women who come from all walks of life yet have so much in common. Join the thousands of Olivians who travel to bucket list destinations all over the world. It's life-changing to be in the majority on your own vacation. Discover Olivia for yourself at olivia.com today. Hi everyone, happy Pride Month. This is Sarah Gabrielli, and I have a really cool story to share with you this week. It is the story of Heather Purser, a lesbian activist, commercial diver, and member of the Suquamish tribe in Seattle, Washington. Heather made headlines back in 2011 when she successfully and kind of single-handedly got same-sex marriage legalized within her tribe. To contextualize a little bit, this was only 1 month after New York legalized same-sex marriage and joined only 5 other states in doing so. It was not legal in Washington state yet, and obviously not at the federal level until 2015, and at least publicly no other indigenous tribes had done this yet. But Heather had been pushing for it within her own community since around 2009. Her story is ultimately one of bravery and love and acceptance. I know you're gonna love it, so let's get into it.
I am both Suquamish, Native American, and I am a mix of many things. On my mother's side of the family, they came over in the 1700s. So they're early colonizers. So that's been a very interesting thing for me to grow up fully immersed in my Native American spiritual beliefs and teachings. I grew up listening to those and understanding our culture, like the language and different songs and dances and things like that. They came back when I was a child. So growing up that way and then also having this deep roots in colonization, it makes me very aware of race and things like that. So it was just been a big topic my whole life. About 7 years old is when I realized that I am white. And before that, I'd thought of white people as kind of just the enemy or, bad people. Because I'd hear things like, effing white people. And they just seem to be the problem, a big source of frustration and pain in my family on my dad's side. And those are the people that I grew up around. I am a geoduck diver for the Suquamish tribe, and I work in our oyster field. I grew up fishing with my dad, so there was a lot of complaints about, the white guys out there with us. My dad was a gill netter. He's still alive, but he doesn't fish anymore. We go out into the San Juan Island area. We'd go and set nets out there for like a few weeks at a time. And that's how my dad made money, was catching fish. And so we have an agreement with the state of Washington about fishing and we share the territory with non-tribal members. And as a kid, we'd hear about them coming out here and taking the fish, and they shouldn't be able to do that. And it's not their land anyway, and didn't want to share the water with them because they didn't want to share it with us. I was born in 1982, and it was, I think, in the 70s, late 70s, that we had something called the Fish Wars, and it was really bad for Native people. There was this Judge Bolt made this ruling that Native people had the right to hunt and fish in their usual and accustomed areas, and that gave tribes the right to actually start fishing, harvesting clams and doing things like that, that our ancestors did to survive. We were legally then allowed to do it again, and so there was a lot of, like, animosity coming from the non-tribal fishermen who didn't want us out there with them. People were getting shot at, people were sabotaging native boats. It got really ugly. There's a lot of instances of, like, violence, and it was pretty bad. So I grew up, like, after that kind of started to die down.
Were the Native people not allowed? They obviously weren't allowed to before that ruling.
Right, we didn't have, we would have to go through the state of Washington to get, like, the regular permits and do all of that. I'm not sure if they weren't allowed to. We didn't have the boats, we didn't have, the resources to get set up to go and get a permit and, all of that. There's just a lot of hoops to jump through that in the treaties that our ancestors signed, the agreement was that we would be able to fish and hunt in these areas, and that was never to be. That was just, it was the law. So it wasn't upheld until Judge Bolt, and people weren't happy about it.
So this is like kind of the atmosphere that you're growing up in.
Yeah.
You're growing up 10 years later or something like that.
Yeah. I think it was when we were learning about the Pilgrims and the Indians, and I was really mad that we were getting taught that the Pilgrims were these friendly people when I knew better. My parents talked a lot and I listened to everything, but I knew that wasn't the case. I knew it wasn't this peaceful sit down, be friends type of situation. But I just remember at some point I was talking to my mom about white people and how bad they are. And she said, "Honey, you're white." And I was just, and she said, "I'm white." And I was just like, "Oh my God." Like it was so it was really it was just shocking for me.
It's so funny how those things happen as kids.
Yeah. I thought everybody around was part of my tribe. Everybody I saw and interacted with was like, I just thought we were all Indians. We would go in the winters to these ceremonial houses, and I don't know. I thought everybody did that in the winter. I don't know. It's just, I don't know how to describe my thinking as a child.
No, I think people like will totally relate to that. Like you think that everyone's life just looks like your life. Like how could you know that
Yeah.
other things exist, right?
Yeah. So it was probably around 6 or 7 that I started to really see the differences. My grandfather's father married a Suquamish woman, and so that's how we're here. That was something that a lot of Native people did, was they tried to whitewash. Like, there was this entire generation of people who grew up listening to their grandparents and their parents speak the language, like, among each other, but refused to teach it to the kids because they were really, scared of how they would live and how they would be and grow up. So my grandfather, I feel I caught a sense from him that he was a part of that too, trying to fit in more with, larger society. He was in the boarding school. My grandfather, was really young when he was taken into the school. It was a hospital for tuberculosis, and they said that he had that, but once they got him, they kept him, and they'd already had his, sisters were there with him, and he would run away a lot. He was actually, they called him Sonny the Runner because he was always running. This a really little guy. I think he was like 6 or 7, and he ran away so frequently that they would take his sisters and lock him up in the basement until he would come back. I mean, that's one thing that I heard. You never know what's true, what's not, but that they would get locked up until he was returned, and then they would tell him, like, "We have to lock your sisters up."
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was pretty brutal, and his parents met in the boarding schools. I think there was, like, 3 generations maybe that went, but my dad would be the first generation that didn't have to.
What do the generations look like as far as like which generations are growing up learning like the culture and the language and traditions and stuff, and then which ones where is there like the gap of trying to assimilate?
So my dad's generation, they didn't grow up, they grew up in the kind of the silence because their parents were afraid. And then my grandfather's generation, they grew up in quite a bit of silence too because their parents were really afraid. I think my generation is the first one where we got to witness going to ceremonies without, fear of being arrested because our spirituality, like native religion, it's weird to call it religion, but native people were not allowed to practice it until it was 1978 or 1979. So my generation, we got to go to ceremonies, and I was about 10 years old when the language started coming back. And actually, my tribe was a big part of it because of a elder here. There's a few of them that really wanted to see it come back, and there was this non-native man named Zeke here. He's a pretty big deal out here, but he helped revitalize Lashutsi, which is our language. So when I was about 10 or 11, I got to start taking language classes. I don't speak it, but I know a few words, but there's kids in this tribe that can speak it really well.
So I know that you more recently have started documenting the history of your tribe specifically.
Yeah.
Are you hearing stories about queerness at all? Is that something that's come up historically at all in your research?
So what I've been doing, and I concluded the bulk of it, but I had a grant come in. The tribe got this grant, and they needed someone to go around and interview all of our tribal elders, and so that's what I did. I talked to them about their lives and any kind of knowledge they have of our culture. There was only one or two people who were LGBT, but they didn't have any knowledge about any teachings around it. Actually, really no one that I talked to has that knowledge anymore.
You don't even really know what.
No. No.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Is that something you're trying to find out about? Like, is that a goal of yours?
No, no, not really. I've accepted that it's been lost. There's so much that's just lost.
So, what is your perception then of attitudes and like the climate around the LGBT community as you were growing up and stuff, like within the tribe? How did that feel to you?
Oh, that's where I feel like I get myself in trouble a little bit with people. I didn't care for the attitude toward women, whatsoever, and especially women who didn't act like women, who didn't fit in, who were more non-binary or didn't take on those traditional roles, and men who were kind of more effeminate. I didn't like the way they were treated either.
So, kind of strict gender roles.
Yeah, yeah, it seemed like strict gender roles to me. Women, they didn't do the stuff that men did. They just didn't seem to have as much fun in life. As a kid, I didn't want to be a woman because I didn't want to have to work all the time and then kind of be complained about and treated like I was a joke or, I was just really afraid of growing up to become a woman.
So, when did you first start thinking about queerness at all? Like, even realize that that existed?
Oh man, that's 7. It was a big age for me. It was yeah.
Huge age.
Yeah. I was about 7, and I stayed home from school because I was sick, and I watched, I don't know if it was a Lifetime or what show it was, but it was like a Lifetime. It had a very Lifetime made for,
That kind of quality,
that kinda
like
quality, there we go,
low
and
grade.
yeah, yeah, very melodramatic, but it was about this man who was gay, and he was getting married to a woman, and then he was outed by his former, boyfriend, and then so he tried to kill himself, and I just thought, "Oh, okay, well, if I grew up to be gay," like because I felt like I only like girls, and I was like, "Well, if I still feel that way when I'm older, I'll just kill myself." I had a lot of issues as a kid, but that was my plan, was if I can't get this under control, then I will take myself out, and thought it sounded like a good idea. I mean, I just was like, "Yeah, what else can he do? He doesn't fit in." And so, fitting in has always been huge for me.
the influence of the media,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I guess this is my option.
Yeah. I mean, and then the movie tried to take it in a totally different direction, but I just thought, no, he had the right idea the whole time. Because I just thought, fitting in was everything. And if I didn't, then there was no point to my existence. And
Yeah, I get that. At 7,
yeah. Yeah.
that's very important. So you're seeing a gay man. You see yourself in this gay man. Like, what were your experiences up until that point that made this click for you?
Well, this always sounds like a made up story. So I'm going to tell it anyway. But people think, they think I'm full of shit. But
Okay, that sounds like it's about to be a good one then.
yeah. So it was around that age too. There was a gathering at the tribal center, and I met this girl who had blonde hair, and um, I thought she was really cool, and I really liked her, and we talked a lot, and I remember that I was shaking the whole time, and like my stomach was like shaking. I felt really excited and happy, and she said that she didn't live around here, that she lived, like, kinda far away, was in Tacoma, which seemed really far as a child, but when she left, her mom came and picked her up, and they left. When it was time for us to leave, I was talking to my mom about it, and I started crying, and she told me to not worry because 'cause I'd see her again because 'cause we're in the same tribe, and I know I looked for her a lot, and I looked for every tribal gathering, for I don't know how long, but I finally kind of forgot and gave up. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's my partner, my current partner. So yeah.
Oh my
I know, right? I know.
Wait.
It's funny because I knew I was, like, in the car and we were driving home. I was like, "Gosh, I really, I like girls. I wanna marry a woman. I wanna grow up and be a boy." Like, and I remember as a kid talking to my mom about, like, "Okay, is there any chance I could become a boy?" And she's like, "No." Like, so, like, the day that my
Ugh.
little brother, he realized that I wasn't his big brother, that I was his sister, we both sat down and cried about it together. Because I just wanted to grow up and marry Angie.
How did you end up meeting again? How did you get reunited?
I always wondered who she was. I was always looking at different people in the tribe being like, "Could that have been her?" And, like, he was like, "No, that couldn't have been her." Like, because there's only so many, blonde Suquamish tribal members my age, so I was always looking for her, but I saw her over the years, and she always caught my eye. She would never talk to me, though. I thought she was, like, really stuck up or something, like, because she just never talked to me. I found out later that she's actually just incredibly shy, so
Okay, but I'm so curious if there was a moment of realization for you. Were you not sure that she was the girl, or did you kind of already know?
I don't know what made me remember, suddenly one day. We'd been together for about a year when I remembered it.
Heather, that's crazy.
Yeah, right?
Does she remember meeting you like so little? Does she remember like having thoughts about you?
No, she doesn't remember it. So, she doesn't remember it, but I described her jacket and her mother's hair and the car, so she knows it was true, but she was one of the ones saying I was full of shit when I would tell her that story. She believes me, but
How did you get together and like start dating?
it was the 2016 election. Yeah, everyone was caucusing for either Bernie or Hillary, and so I went to the caucus, and spoke at it, and I saw this really, like, beautiful woman, like, I just was instantly something was there. Something in me just, like, knew, like, we go together somehow. I don't know how or what, but after everyone was done talking, I went over and was speaking with her grandmother. I didn't know it was her grandmother, but she's an elder in my tribe. As I was talking with her, and then Angie came up, and I introduced myself to her when I sat down, and she said, "I know who you are, Heather Purser. We have met several times." I was like, "Oh," like, she knew who I was, but I didn't know who she was, so I really don't think that we'd actually sat there and met or sat there and talked much. Our families go way back, and we're both like I grew up in the northern smokehouses, which is like it's like our ceremonial houses, and she grew up in the southern houses. So, and there's not a lot of people in the tribes who have that lived experience of growing up doing that.
What does that mean for your lifestyle growing up? What does it look like?
I guess how to describe it is it's kind of like people go to church on Sundays. And this is it's like going to church every winter. It's a practice, a way of believing that had to go underground for a really long time.
You both would do this every winter, but
Yeah,
in
okay.
different places.
Yeah, we were both a part of that kind of very secret lifestyle.
It was secret?
Yeah, it felt like a secret, growing up because my dad would say, "Don't talk about this, outside of here. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it at home. Don't ask questions. Don't ever bring it up to other tribal members because, it'll make them feel bad, because they're not a part of it or, it's just not good to talk about these things. It's too important." And as I've gotten older, my dad and other people have talked about since that it's, not that it was ever something that we had to keep a secret. It was that was kind of ingrained in us because of all those years where it was illegal. My great grandmother, so my dad's grandmother, she was a little girl when she watched as they burned down the last smokehouse in her tribe. And she watched as, there were people go off into the woods and try to practice it in secret, and then horrible things happen to them. They get arrested, and, there's a lot of different punishments. The government had control of everything, so, like, your food rations and your housing, and so people were kind of afraid. I grew up, it was still very much like a secret, so it was just kinda neat to meet another Suquamish person who grew up similar.
Was it for like an entire season or how long were you there for?
It was usually it depended, but it was like every weekend because my dad had to work and stuff and we couldn't be there all the time. But we'd go and we'd spend, every weekend up there and feel like I don't know if how much if I'm saying too much about it or what, but just because of the way I grew up, I always feel like I'm doing something bad by talking about it, but I don't I'm
Oh,
not. I'm
I
not.
hope you're not. It's very
I'm not.
interesting.
As a kid, it was explained that it's because it was, like, too important and spiritual, and as I've gotten older, people have said that they think that it was just this leftover fear, and because we're running into a real problem of people no longer knowing things because they've gone so long without being talked about, and then there's probably a lot of people like me who are afraid to even think about it, and they weren't there because they're like, "I didn't wanna be doing anything wrong."
So when do you end up coming out? Like how does this sort of queer journey progress?
I was writing, like, lesbian romance as a teenager. Um, and my mom found it, and I got in a lot of trouble for it. So my dad picks me up from work, and he asked me if I'm a lesbian. It was, like, really bizarre because my dad and I don't talk about that stuff, but I said, "No." And he said, "Well, your mom found some writing. She's pretty upset about it, and it says otherwise." And I just said, "Oh." And I didn't know what to say, and so it's just this quiet car ride home. He drops me off at the house, wishes me luck, and then says he's not sticking around for this. And I was like, "Oh, what am I walking into here?" And so, yeah, I walked in and my mom was just irate. She had the journal that I was writing in and was just yelling at me and like flipping out. And I was on the stairs, like my room was in the basement, and she like kicked me down them. And like, so I went flying backward and I was okay, but it was just all very scary. She just called me names and, she read the story out loud. She made all my siblings listen to it, sat us down at the table and was just being crazy about it, and then she called up my relatives and, told them that to not let their kids around me. So she made it out like I was a pedophile or something.
That was the information that she gave them was don't let your kids
Yeah, she
around
just
Heather.
said, "There's something wrong with Heather, and you shouldn't let her around your children." And
Oh my god, I'm so
I
sorry.
just remember in that moment, I didn't know, like, how I was gonna keep breathing, like, do I have to? It just felt it was miserable. Growing up with the mother that I had, I just had to learn to quit defending myself against rumors and lies and things like that. So, no, I've never really had that direct conversation with each of my relatives, like, "Hey, I'm not a pedophile, by the way, I never was."
Yeah, that's really awful to grow up with. So
Yeah.
sorry. So then you must really like feel like you have to push this down
Yeah.
now. How do you get from there? Wasn't it like it's not more than a decade later that then you're advocating for same-sex marriage, right?
Right, yeah. Well, the first thing I did was I started dating a guy, and then I converted to his religion because it really pissed off both of my parents too. They don't like Catholics or
Was this at 18 or
yeah.
16 after you? Okay.
I was 16, 17 I started studying Catholicism, and then by 18 I converted.
And it was
And
just all a huge you to your
it
parents.
wasn't yeah, that's how I got around the whole gay thing for a while, and I thought it could keep me safe. And
Like,
like
I am so committed to this
yeah.
heterosexual relationship. But did you meet this guy when you were away at school?
No, in 8th grade or 7th grade. He was one of the only kids that didn't make fun of me, like, because I was a really heavy kid. He was, like, a well-liked kid in school, and he wasn't mean to me. And so, when I saw him at, like, 16, after everything had happened with my mom, I think it was just a couple months afterward, it was just like, I just started, smiling at him and talking to him, and he got really excited about it, and then he asked me out on a date, and I was like, "Okay, yes, sweet, this is my way," like, and I told him, like, "By the way, I think I'm a lesbian," and he was like, "Don't worry about it, we can pray about that," and I was like, "Alright, let's pray it away, I'm down."
Word.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought maybe if I prayed and hung out with this guy and his really awesome family, that would go away, and it didn't. So I went to college in, Kansas. It's an all Native American university. I didn't come out for a while, but that's where I kinda came to terms with it and, like, knew, like, "Okay, I'm still a lesbian," and I mean, I had to get rid of the guy first. I remember he called me I told him I was a lesbian again. I was like, "Dude, I'm a lesbian, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is." When we'd become pretty good friends in the meantime, and so I was like, I was like, "Hey, look, dude, I'm sorry, I'm a lesbian." He's like, "No, we're in love," and, like, just refused to accept it. Yeah, I just remember I transferred schools and went to, Western Washington University in Bellingham, and he called me and said that he was gonna start dating other women, and I was like, "Yeah, me too, way ahead of you, actually."
Do you mind me asking what made you transfer?
Um, I got beat up, like, in Kansas.
For being gay?
No, for having a big mouth, man, running my mouth. Yeah, I was just talking back to the wrong people, I just wanted to prove myself or something, or I don't know what it was, but these girls were kind of being rude to me and kind of picking on me, I felt like, and making it clear that I didn't fit in. I wanna say it's because I'm, like, white, but I think it was really they just didn't like me. So I don't even remember what was said, but someone said something about me, and I said something back, and, this woman, I didn't realize what she was going through that day, like, she just lost someone important to her. That was the day I happened to run into her, and I said something rude, and so that night, 2 girls came and knocked on my door, and one held the door while the other beat me up, and it was like I don't know, it just kind of was really upsetting it was upsetting for me.
Have you heard of Olivia, the travel company for lesbians and LGBTQ plus women? You know what they say. Life is short and the world is wide. And when you're a lesbian or LGBTQ plus woman, you want to be able to go on vacation, have some fun, and be yourself. Olivia Travel creates full takeovers of their cruise, resort, riverboat, and adventure vacations, so you can relax and be completely yourself. Olivia also provides the entertainment, bringing comedians and musicians from within our community. Traveling by yourself? No problem. Olivia has a robust solos program so you can travel independently, together. Single, coupled, or in a group, you'll meet amazing LGBTQ plus women who come from all walks of life yet have so much in common. Join the thousands of Olivians who travel to bucket list destinations all over the world. It's life-changing to be in the majority on your own vacation. Discover Olivia for yourself at olivia.com today.
If you've ever shopped online, and let's face it, who hasn't? Chances are you've bought something from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes things easier, and not just for shoppers. They make it easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. It gives you a leg up from day dot, with hundreds of beautiful ready-to-go templates to express your brand style so you can get up and running fast. You can tackle your important tasks, from inventory to payments to analytics and more, all in one place. You can also spread your brand's word with built-in marketing and email tools built for you to find and keep new customers. And remember that iconic purple Shop Pay button that's used by millions of businesses around the world? It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Your customers already know and love it. If you want to see less carts being abandoned, it's time for you to head over to Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. Shopify.com/realm. I love a multi-use beauty product, like an eye/cheek/lipstick. It makes a full face so much easier, plus you only need to bring one product along for touch-ups. And whether you're all about simple mascara and gloss, or you love to play with bold shapes and colors, you gotta have that trusty favorite you turn to for every look. Thrive Causemetics makes certified 100% vegan and cruelty-free products you can depend on for everything from simple daily wear to show-stopping self-expression. And it's all made with clean, skin-loving ingredients, high-performance and trademarked formulas, and uncompromising standards. And Thrive Causemetics is beauty that gives back. For every product purchased, they make a donation towards 8 major causes, including social justice organizations and those impacted by cancer and homelessness. It feels good knowing that when I purchase a product, I'm also able to give back to causes that matter to me. And one product I love from Thrive Causemetics is the Brilliant Eye Brightener. Like I said, I love a product that can have multiple uses, and the Brilliant Eye Brightener is just that. It's an eyeshadow and highlighter stick that's super blendable, and I'm slowly but surely stocking up on the 31 shades that it comes in. Try your new trusty favorites with an exclusive set for our listeners. New customers can get the Liquid Lash Extensions mascara and a mini-sized Brilliant Eye Brightener at a special set price with free shipping available at thrivecosmetics.com/thrive. Or save more with 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/thrive. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/thrive for 20% off your first order.
New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins. Just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag. The one you stole from your ex. Or your overpriced half a studio apartment. Or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar. Triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
So how do you get to this place of not only being comfortable advocating for same-sex marriage, but it like becomes this kind of like mission for you within the tribe?
All right, I was digging clams on the beach with my cousin, and her new husband was like packing her clams for her, because that's one of the ways that we can make money is selling clams. You dig them on the beach, and so her husband was carrying like this 40-pound like sack of clams on each arm, and I was just like, man, that's not fair. I'm never going to be able to have anyone to help me unless I marry a tribal member.
Heather is referencing those same fishing and hunting laws here. It's not just that she wants a partner that can help take a load off. It's that a non-tribe member literally would not be allowed to go clamming with her unless they got married.
So yeah, I started thinking it wasn't fair. I've never been very comfortable being different. So I just really believed that I should be able to feel comfortable, especially here in my tribe on the reservation, because there's a lot of us that don't fit in the world. You just have this totally different life experience. And so you kind of feel like, at least for me, like that I don't fit in anywhere. But I don't even feel like I fit in around natives because I'm white. So I was like, the Suquamish is like kind of my safety spot because there's people like me here who are mixed, and who grew up feeling different and in the same ways. And so I felt like, if I'm going to spend the rest of my life here, I want to be comfortable and I want other people, like me to be comfortable. And so I just was open about being a lesbian. When I realized that I wanted to do like to see gay be able to get married here in the tribe someday, I just started talking to everybody about it around me, because when I'm comfortable, I talk a lot. And so I just started talking and talking and talking about it.
How did people react? Because this is kind of like the first time that you're being really open about this.
There's a mixed bag. There is like people who would be ashamed to admit now what they acted like then. And so I don't want to shame them because like, we're only as woke as like the culture around us will allow us to be, I think, sometimes. So like the culture at that time was like, everyone was getting called a fag or homo and things like that. And so they kind of shamed me for it and kind of like made fun of me. And they're like, oh, like, why are you acting like you're proud of it? Just stuff like that. And then one thing that a lot of the men would say was that it was like too bad. It was a shame. It was too pretty. Weird comments like that.
At this point, was it like a campaign for you, or was it more just like, okay, I'm going to be more open and honest about who I am? Or are you actually talking to people like, listen, let's talk about same-sex marriage?
Oh, when it came, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a traditional campaign, but it was like I was.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mean
yeah.
that. I
Oh
didn't
no,
mean
I mean,
traditionally.
yeah, but like no, I got you.
But those are the conversations that you're having, are like kind of surrounding this idea that you want to be able to get married.
Yeah, and I was, like so I'd be talking about like we need to exert our sovereignty. Like this is a way to show, the United States that we make our own rules here. And so I had an agenda when I would go in and talk with people. So I'd been talking to the council about it for quite a while, asking if it's something that we could do. And I wasn't getting very far on it. And it seemed like it would just never happen because it had already been a couple of years of me trying, kind of not really knowing what to say or do. But I'd been trying for a couple of years to get some kind of movement on it. And finally, some people in the tribe, one of them was my cousin, they said that I needed to just, be brave and take it to the floor, take it to the floor for the people to decide because the people are the ones who actually have the power. So that's what I did is the next tribal council meeting that we had. I actually didn't do it one year because I was too nervous. And then the next year, I felt more courageous. We have our meetings at this really beautiful location. It's called the Kiana Lodge, and it's on the waterfront here. The tribe owns it. And it happens every spring. And so there's probably, I don't know, 150 maybe tribal members present. I just remember, everyone was standing up, making different motions, commenting on things to the council because there's a select block of time that we can do that.
It is the way that white people would understand like a town council meeting, kind of.
Oh, absolutely. Disgustingly so. So yeah, I was up during the comments section of that, and I made a motion that we adopt same-sex marriage laws into our tribal codes.
Everyone there like kind of knows that this is your cause that you've been talking about, right? For years.
Quite a few people, but there's a lot of people who were just kind of taken by surprise and didn't know.
Did you like know everyone that was there? You'd kind of grown up with everyone?
Oh yeah, I know everybody's face.
Okay, so then you go up, and do you remember what you said?
God, I should ask Angie.
Was Angie there?
Yeah, she was there.
That's how she knew you.
Yeah, like she knew me, and then
like you'd made this big scene. Of course she knew you and your first and last name because you like made national news in front of her.
Yeah, I know she had a crush on me, I guess. So I thought yeah.
Do you know what her experience was at that meeting? Was it just a huge deal to her?
Yeah, she was she said that she was just really shocked, like because this is like her secret, her thing, like, her family knew, but she didn't share that with people. And so for me to just be out there, she felt a little bit exposed, I believe is what she said or how she put it. She was just really impressed that I was out there saying all that. Like she couldn't believe I put myself out there. I remember I talked about not fitting in and feeling like I belonged because I'm different, and I said that if we were to adopt, same-sex marriage laws, then me and people like me, other LGBT people would feel safer and we would feel loved. And I reminded people that our culture is about love and acceptance and embracing each other. And so I said something like, with keeping the culture and the traditions of our ancestors in mind, could we do this? Can we adopt these laws? Can we adopt this constitutional change or tribal code change? When I stood up, I was really embarrassed, like 'cause a lot of people knew that, I'm a lesbian, but I'd never been that comfortable with it, just within myself. And so when I started speaking, my voice started shaking a bit. And that's when felt my dad stand up behind me. So, so that was really cool.
Did you know at that point that your dad supported you?
Um, no, I mean, because no, I mean, he bailed on me when I needed him. So, um, no, I didn't feel like he supported me at all in that. I didn't know it was him behind me, but I felt like it was. And then so when I saw him, it was like it's just really cool. And then I saw my little brother came up and it was pretty special. So
It's so sweet.
yeah,
And
it was amazing. It was a good feeling. I thought for sure that there would be quite a few people voting no, and they just weren't there. Yeah, it was unanimous.
what was like the energy in the room when everyone, so then people unanimously vote to pass it? And like what happened?
It was actually really cool. Because I had all this when I was speaking, it felt like everyone was holding their breath, kind of shocked that I was, even asking for this, like, because it was just so, we're talking about fishing rights and we're talking about hunting and we're talking about education and different things that are really serious and important. And I'm saying this is serious and important for us too. And I mean, people, it was just silence. So I worried that people were disgusted and angry and annoyed because it was very quiet in that room. And then when it was put to a vote, I was just so like I didn't even want to be in there for it. When everybody said yes, it was great. It's like it felt like I gotten wrapped, in a blanket, which is exactly what it felt like.
It feels like it was an act of loving you almost. Do you think that that is possible?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe not even me for who I am, but like there's this connection between tribal members. We really care about each other and we really love each other. And a lot of things happen and we have a lot of arguments and disagreements and we forget that. But in that moment, it was like all these people who didn't have a close connection with me did not want me to feel bad. They didn't want me to feel like I didn't belong. They wanted me to, it was like it was incredible. And I think it's because so many of us know what it's like to feel like an outsider, to step into other rooms, away from each other and just suddenly feel like we don't belong, we don't fit in, we're not worthy.
Yeah, do you think that that has a big impact on the culture, like just knowing that feeling? Did that open them people up to being more accepting in general?
I think so. I think in our case it does. There's just people that have been through so much out here. What touches me the most is that we're really putting ourselves at risk when we did that. Like especially if it were under an administration like we have now. That would have been terrible for us, or something bad could have happened to us because of that, because we're defying the government.
Yeah, because it's allowed in your tribe before it's allowed in Washington state, before it's allowed federally and most states in the country. And do you know about the landscape of other tribes, if there was any sort of precedent for this?
No, actually, I found out after, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the Coquille tribe in California actually did that quietly, like a year or two before we did. So I kind of felt bad. I was like, I had no idea. We should have been crediting them as the first.
But you do get this credit as it's like the first public
Yeah.
tribe to sort of publicly do this. That's so crazy. So, what was the fallout of this? Was there negative backlash? You obviously changed lives with this. Like, what happened from there?
there wasn't really any negative backlash except for like I did get a lot of like attention for a little bit. And so there was people feeling certain kinds of ways about that. And that part was kind of hard, because when you grow up the way I did, you always have these daydreams of like someday people are going to know I'm not a joke or I'm going to be famous or and so then it was happening that people like, they heard my name for a little bit, like I was in the news and it went really far. And so I'd been threatening my mom since I was a little kid, like, "Someday I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna tell everybody what you're like," and so that's what I did in a couple of my interviews, and so, like, that's when I got, like, I started feeling like kind of a really bad person or something because it became all about me to me. I mean, it wasn't, but I felt like in some ways I made it about myself when really it was what the people did for me, making that sacrifice, putting themselves on the line. And I forgot that for a bit because it felt so good to be seen.
You're so hard on yourself, though. Like, I don't know. I find it, I feel like other people swept you up in something.
A little bit, yeah, like, because they didn't mean to, but, like, reporters and stuff would ask me stuff, and it was like, "Oh my god, I need a few weeks to think about my response here," like, but
Yeah.
there are, like, people in the tribe who and I'm not saying that that was the reason they came out at all, but, it's cool seeing people who are much younger than me being able to be out and to be not, just not concerned about it. It's not a big deal. And I love that. And then there was a couple that got married. They expressed gratitude that I worked on it. And so I thought that was really cool. They're like, we got married because you put in that work and that felt nice. Because I didn't get married. And so
I know
somebody's
you weren't
doing
even
it.
trying to actually get married yourself.
Yeah.
You were planning.
I was planning on it. I wasn't, I was like, well, I'd like to someday. When I first started doing it, it was because I wanted someone to be able to help me, dig my quota on the beach and come fishing with me if I needed them to. And Angie can. So it's like she already can. We don't have to get married because she's a tribal member.
Thank you to our sponsor, Olivia Travel, the travel company for lesbians and LGBTQ plus women. If you like this episode, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. It really helps others discover our podcast. Cruising is produced by a small but mighty team of 3 queer women, Rachel Karp, Jen McGinnity, and me, your host and editor, Sarah Gabrielli. Our theme song is by Joey Freeman. You can find us on social media at CruisingPod and on the web at www.cruisingpod.com. Support us at buymeacoffee.com/cruisingpod.
Can you actually change your personality if you want to? How does peer pressure work, and why is it so powerful? Should you ever really trust your gut when you make a big decision? These are just a few of the topics we've recently covered on my podcast, Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and each episode of Something You Should Know covers multiple topics that are likely relevant to you. You'll discover things you can use in your life today, right now, like how to have a great conversation, how to be more courageous, the anatomy of the perfect apology, and much, much more. To date, there are over 1,000 episodes of Something You Should Know, and we've gotten over 4,000 mostly 5-star reviews. I invite you to check out Something You Should Know. Look for the bright yellow light bulb on the blue background. Something You Should Know, wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Queer Family Podcast.
Hey there, listeners. Do you like to hear real and honest stories? And do you also believe in inclusion and diversity? If so, I have the podcast for you. My name is Jamie, and I'm the host of the Queer Family Podcast, the show all about family, but with gay. I go in depth with weekly guests about how they built their beautiful queer families and how we all show up in a world that wasn't necessarily designed for families that look like ours. The mission is to uplift, highlight, normalize, and celebrate LGBTQIA plus families in all of our beautiful identities, and we do just that week after week. Tune in every Monday to new episodes. Find us wherever you find your pods. Happy listening.
Love is love on the Queer Family Podcast. Love is love.